What is up, everyone? We are back. It is Tuesday, the 27th, and we are here for the MLB DFS Slate breakdown. We got a nice 15-game slate on the docket today. It should be a fun one. Now, before we get into it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all our videos. Helps us out a ton. And come join us at LineStar. Only $29.99 gets you access to all of our props, all of our DFS stuff. It is really the best deal in the industry, and we really would like you to join us. Come get in the chat with us and have some fun. Talk some sports, talk some DFS, talk some props. We do it all there. And if you don't want to front that $29.99 a month, you can do a 3-day trial. Just download it on the app stores. The 3-day free trial is only allowed on the app stores. So let's get into it now. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with a little rundown of yesterday's slate, the winners for both FanDuel and DraftKings. Then we'll do pitcher ownership followed by stacks. Also, if you're wondering why I do not have a mustache anymore, make sure to watch our other video, the props one, where Shannon and I go over my missing mustache. Also, if you haven't checked that out, please do. We've been crushing it over there. Just went 4 days straight of hitting everything right, with the last one getting all 5 right. So if you're on FanDuel or on Underdog, it would have been a 20x. On Prize Picks, it would have been a 10x. Now, let's get into it. So, perfect lineup for DraftKings. We got Strider, Detmers, no surprise. Both are high owned and both crushed it. Then we got a 2-man Detroit stack, 2-man Washington stack, and a 3-man Seattle stack. So no huge surprises there, as both cheap Washington and Detroit had some real good players and made it into the perfect lineup. So let's see the winning lineup here. No surprise, Detmers and Strider. We do have a 5-man Seattle stack with Cal Riley still putting up a 0, and a 2-man Detroit stack here. So pretty interesting. Here's the second Detroit guy. Pretty interesting. Once again, 5-2-1 lineup won, and that is, I think, the second day in a row that 5-2-1 was the format that won. So now let's check over on FanDuel. So Strider, no surprise, highest owned pitcher with highest score. And then once again, 2 Washington, 2 Tigers, but only 1 Seattle guy makes this lineup. And this lineup on FanDuel that won it, I can't believe it won. Or I can believe it won because it put up the scores. But I don't think I could ever recreate this to win. He has a 2-man Tiger stack and then just one-offs. That's a very hard strategy to be able to repeat time and time again. Thus, I wouldn't really recommend doing that, and I would recommend trying to stick to a more stacked format for baseball, at least. So congrats to Brent RC914. Enjoy your 20K. You absolutely deserve it. Great lineup. Now let's move on. Let's talk about the fun of this slate we got coming up here. So 15-game slate. There is a little bit of weather concern with the Mets, the Baltimore game, and Pittsburgh game, but I think the Mets one is the only one we really have to worry about it not playing. Now, ownership-wise, we got some very interesting kind of decisions that we need to make on DraftKings today with ownership, because we have a couple guys just priced wrong. Brian Wu at almost 34%, 6,900. He's just way too cheap. It's a guy that has a 33.8% K rate. In the minors, he had 12.7 Ks per 9. His strikeout stuff is for real, and it's going to stay high. Now, 33.8 might be a little bit high. He has faced some strikeout-prone teams, but he could very well be in the upper 20s, maybe 30% a K rate for his career. He has that quality strikeout stuff. 26% combined K rate at his price is just great. I totally understand why you want to go there. Kevin Gausman has been great all season. I will never try and talk you off going with him. 2.5 FIP, 31% K rate, 26% combined K rate. This is the one thing I should bring up, though. So his combined K rate is pretty much the same as Brian Wu, but Brian Wu's 6,900. That is why I say Wu is so underpriced. Next guy we're going to talk about, Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, great option. Solid. Once again, he's right around 26% K rate, combined K rate, 11.3K. He's in a good spot too. Do not mind going to him, and I won't try and talk you off of it. He did struggle a little bit for 3 games, but seems to correct his ways this last game versus the Dodgers, and now he has a much worse lineup versus the White Sox to go against. So don't mind that. David Peterson is coming in a little high owned as well. This is another guy for his price. 27.2% combined K rate is ridiculous. Now there's a little bit of a difference. While Peterson has been a good pitcher, 3.8 FIP over his last 20 starts, super high ERA, he seems to just always fall into some bad luck situations. So this is why I would say this is one that I'm not quite as interested in. The other thing is, if you look at this, over 8 starts, he logged a 1-6 record with an 8 ERA, high K rate over 39 innings, but he's struggled, and that is definitely a reason to fade him if he is high owned. I'm not saying you should. There is major upside if he can limit runs, because the strikeouts are probably going to be there, and he is way better at home. He has been in the minors for the last couple months. And we'll see what happens. The last month he's been in the minors. So he's back up, taking Tyler McGill's spot. And, good luck to him back up. He is high owned. He is underpriced, so I understand it. If Wu wasn't there, he would be the highest owned pitcher on this slate. Next, we got Darvish. I really like Darvish. There is some interesting things here. One, his StatCast data is great. FIP of 3.46 and an ERA of 6.84 just doesn't make sense. He definitely had some bad luck. He has been in some tough pitching spots, though. At New York, when the weather was very warm, at Colorado, versus Tampa Bay at home, versus a red-hot Giants team. So he hasn't had the easiest stretch of 5 games here, and that FIP of 3.46 is pretty legit. Combined K rate, 24.2. I think Darvish is very interesting on this slate and not getting quite the ownership he should be. Gallen is in a tough spot versus the Rays. Kershaw in Colorado. I don't like Kershaw. If we go over his games in Colorado, he has just struggled in Colorado. Over the last, 8 years, he's had 2 starts in Colorado that potentially could have given you scores that maybe you would win a GPP. That's just not something I want to follow. Framber Valdez, low owned, amazing pitcher, 2.43 FIP over his last 20, 29% K rate. He has major upside in the K department. Cardinals don't scare me that much. I think he is a very good pitcher in a decent spot. And at his ownership, I would not be whatsoever surprised if he outscored, say, Gausman or Ohtani as far as the high-owned guys, and he's just coming in way less ownership. So he isn't very interesting. Another guy I want to bring up here is Martin Perez. Perez is way better at home. 75.7% fantasy points or more fantasy points at home. This is a guy that has a 1.71 ERA at home, 5.98 away. His K rate is also higher at home. He strikes out almost 7 per 9 at home, and it's mid-5s on the road. Against the Tigers, I think there is a chance that he could have a good game. And he's going pretty much low owned and at only 5,700. So I think he is an interesting value option there. Now let's get into FanDuel here. All right, Shohei coming in at almost 40%. I think that's crazy. I think that is way too high with how many pitchers we have on this slate. Now, Ohtani is in a good spot. Major K upside. I like it, so I'm not going to try and talk you off Ohtani, but I think the ownership is probably a little bit too high. Kevin Gausman, also in a good spot, 23% ownership. I really think both these guys should probably be right around there. David Peterson, 11%. He is super cheap. The thing with FanDuel, with only having one spot, I'm not sure if the total upside is really there for him to win you this slate. Gallen, don't mind. I like Yu Darvish, especially at only 5% owned. Sorry, I don't really like Gallen. Not at 10%. I think that's probably a little bit too high on this slate. I think Valdez at 11.2K and 2% owned is much more interesting than Gallen at 10% owned. And as we talked about, I wouldn't be surprised if Valdez outscores Ohtani or Gausman. The upside is there. He's a great pitcher. That'll kind of do it on FanDuel. I think you could go Brian Wu. I think there is the possibility of him going 6+ Ks, 6 innings, 0 or 1 earned. And at his price, that might be enough to kind of get it done and be close enough to the high price guys point wise to maybe win you a GPP. So I don't mind that. And he's going pretty low owned on FanDuel. All right, so now let's go over to the stacks. And the highest owned stack today is going to be your Los Angeles Dodgers. No surprise. Connor Siebold is the pitcher. He hasn't been good all year. The one thing with that, he has been a little bit better at home. So if you're looking through his numbers, you will realize his home starts have been better than his away for the most part. Now, he's facing the Dodgers. Dodgers are a very good hitting team, so I'm sure they're going to get some runs onto him. Just don't know if they're going to get 5+ runs. Now, with that being said, 75% ownership for a 5-man stack is not enough for me to not pick them. So I like the Dodgers. I like Cleveland, especially if J-Ram is in the stack. J-Ram crushes Brady Singer, and I would expect him to do that again. I like the Padres versus Dick Mountain. Dick Mountain's just kind of old, and he's not quite as good as he used to be. He's pretty much just an average pitcher in the MLB now, and he has games where he gets rocked. Rangers, great offense. Manning's not great, so I could see you going there as well. Now let's go to some of the higher projected guys. Now, Cincinnati is our highest projected now, surprisingly. Tyler Wells, I could absolutely see Wells getting blown up. However, I think Wells is a much better pitcher this year than what we did see, say, last year or previous years. So I don't mind. I don't love going to the Reds, but I understand it, especially at low ownership. The offense has been hot lately. Dodgers, Reds, Dodgers, Padres, I just wouldn't go with this stack. I think that's way too expensive for a stack. Philly, I do like. I think Jameson Taillon can get blown up. 5.37 FIP over his last 5. Don't mind that whatsoever. Gary Whitlock's okay, but I just don't love the Diamondback or the Marlins stack, as they always are scoring runs, but they don't really have blow up games, and that's what we really need to win a GPP. So, Cincinnati, Arizona, Braves. Yeah. So let's go to the value side here. Now we got Boston popping up, which I really do like. Sandy Alcantara just has not been himself lately. And there's been talk about him pitching his pitches. Maybe everybody knows that now. And he also knows that, so he can fix it. But if he's still tipping his pitches, a couple of these Boston guys can absolutely hit him. Washington is a nice leverage spot with high-owned Woo, so that is interesting. They seem to always score a couple runs. I probably wouldn't go a 5-man stack Washington. KC is interesting, although Gavin Williams is a highly touted prospect. So you could actually use Gavin Williams as a pitcher as well, even though his first outing wasn't that great. Pittsburgh versus Darvish. We've seen Darvish get a little bit roughed up. It absolutely can happen, and Pittsburgh has some nice hitters. And now we'll do it. Ceiling-wise, Braves are popping up. Philly, Reds. I don't love the Braves. I just don't think that ceiling is going to be there. However, they're a really good offense. I could absolutely see a couple of these guys be in the winning lineup. So if you want to do a smaller stack, I understand that. Talked about I like Philly already. So real quick rundown, implied run total. Dodgers are dominating the implied run total. 1.3 higher than any other team. Ownership will go there. I don't think it's going to be a high enough ownership to totally make you take or get off the Dodgers, but they're in a great spot. Texas, second highest. Boston is the third highest. Both these offenses are going low owned, so that's interesting. Colorado is also going low owned, and I really like this spot. You have the same hitting environment as the Dodgers. It's warm weather in Colorado, and Clayton Kershaw has not fared well in Colorado. He also has allowed some hard contact, hard average exit velocity, and that Dodger bullpen's not great. So I don't mind going to Colorado, like Cleveland. Don't mind the Mets. I think the wheels are going to fall off on him soon. Just don't know if it's today. Angels are an interesting one. Kopech can get shelled, and when he does, it's usually lots of home runs. Angels can hit lots of home runs. So it's an interesting spot. And I think you got to bring up Philly, got to bring up the Mariners. All are interesting. All right, guys, that will do it for us today. Good luck, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for the main slate. Adios.